Here?
Yeah, we're here. We're
There we
here.
go. We're
One
here.
of the few things. Yeah, we're 100% something. I'm just not sure what it was there for a second.
I
Oh man.
I think that we are here and we are so happy to be here. Excellency Light League Fall Split, week number 4. I am Mr. Moose and I am joined at the caster desk by the one, the only Kendo Slice. Kendo, how's your week been, buddy?
Oh, it has been a very interesting week, my friend, thus far. I am happy to be alive. I am happy to be here. Everything else, we can push that to the side for about 3 hours. We won't go into too many details. I'm just saying, life can be hard sometimes. It's a lot like being a Yumi in top lane.
No, Yumi in top lane is living her best life. Let me
Exactly.
tell you. But you just reminded me, I gotta put my phone in airplane mode so I don't get distracted by anyone trying to bamboozle my phone. Any text messages, any grandmas dying on the side, they can wait. 3 hours down the line, I'll figure it out at that point. But week number 4 here, Kendo, gonna be a great week. We've got a lot of great matches. The matchup that we are going to be seeing on the stream is going to end up being CB Stonk Squad up against the GRIN Reapers. Gonna be a fun matchup. But before we get into that one, I want to talk about the league in general. I want to talk about where things stand, not only in the power rankings, but just in the standings in general. So taking a look at the rankings, the standings right now, we've got DA Ascidian, DAO, the Divine Ascension, going to be at 9-0 coming into this week. Grin Reapers and Lotus Black are in second and third at 8-1, and then Central Sentinels are going to be tied for fourth at 5-4 apiece. And so Kendo, I mean, there seems to be a little bit of a split between top tier teams and those mid tier teams, and then everyone else at this
Yeah.
point in the league.
It is very, very tight at the top as well, I might add. DA Obsidian, Grin Reapers, Lotus Black. You could give them a coin flip at any given time where they are in the power rankings. In fact, all three teams receiving at least one #1 vote through our power rankings committee, which shall not be named. It's a secret society, Moose. I'm very interested to know how I ended up in this secret society, being a bronzy myself. So it's kind of weird me saying what team's better than the other.
I mean, you are a caster. You're somebody that's watching these teams play out throughout the league, and I'm no great diamond level player myself. I don't think I'll ever get into master rank at this point in my league career. I don't know if I'll ever make it to diamond, but I'm spending my time and I'm enjoying the more the analytics that come into League of Legends and within the league themselves. It's really fun to watch. It's really great to see. And, you know, we've had a lot of great opportunities throughout the league so far to get some amazing plays, to see some great players come through. But now coming into week 4, there's gonna be some worries as you go down to the bottom of the list. You know, you've got Zenigma Eclipse at 4-5, had to
Mhm.
FF last week, unfortunately, due to some unforeseen circumstances, but they're still 4-5. That does put them at the cutoff for playoffs. Cape Dogs Unleash 3-6. And remember, Cape Dogs Unleash, kind of like the black sheep right now, taking a win
Mhm.
up against both Grin Reapers and Lotus Black. And then you got CB Stonk Squad and then VBU Neon at 2-7 and 1-8 respectively, rounding out 8-9. You know, those are those teams that are at week number 4. They've got to be picking up the pace.
Yeah, that and you need to remain consistent. If you're gonna lose, make sure it's a scrappy loss. You can't have any 0-3s right now. And I feel like, especially with the addition of Team Ambition Golden Age to the league, yes, this is a team that comes in adopting the first 3 weeks of losses that was for the team that ended up dropping out. That being said, I've looked at this team. I've done a little research on them. They have the stuff that kind of puts them in that area, in that bubble for the cutoff of the playoffs. So if you're already a team at 4-5, 5-4, 3-6, even, you want to maintain your trajectory. Keep it going up. You know, Stonks, they got to keep them up, as they will say with the Stevie Stonk squad, which we will see today. Otherwise, a team like Team Ambition Golden Age is going to be coming for you.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions that I wanted to talk to about you this week, Kendo. Team
Mhm.
Ambition Golden Age, you said it correctly, 0-9 coming into week 4. They're underdogs, or are they under gods coming into this
Mm.
one? We're talking about how strong some of their players are looking on paper. We haven't seen them play. They play against Lotus Black this week. It's a really fun matchup. That's going to be, I think, a really big determining factor to see
Yeah.
where Golden Age is going to be placed throughout the rest of the split. But I mean, in terms of their schedule, it's not too crazy. It's not too difficult. They don't have to play against Grin Reapers. They're
Mhm.
playing against Lotus Black this week, and then they play against Cape Dogs, and then Central Sentinels, then VBU, and then
Yeah.
they end off with CBS and Zenigma. No top 3 team is going up
Mhm.
against them in their last 6 weeks of the split. And so the chances of them to be able to get into playoffs, maybe rank 4, rank 3, maybe if they're really successful, if they're able to find a way to go, 18-0, if they don't drop a game, that could be huge. The options are there, and their schedule and the rankings of everyone else that they're going up against definitely going to be something that we are going to be looking forward to as we move into the second half of the split.
Yeah, I agree with you, of course. And the matchups do have a lot in store for us for this week. I said it to you earlier. I wish I were a fly on the wall for that Team Ambition Golden Age versus the Lotus Black match because it's going to be a determining factor. Of course, the 0-9, two of those teams, the teams that we have right there in the top three that ended up being forfeits from the previous teams whose losses they ended up adopting. So I'm very interested in that match. I imagine we'll be giving you updates if we do have that match going on live alongside the show match for tonight. But you also have going into this one the Cape Dogs Unleashed against Central Sentinels. That is going to be a very intriguing matchup as well because, as you said, Cape Dogs are a little bit of an enigma. They've taken a game off of two of the top teams in the league right now successfully and looked extremely competent in your losses while you were at it. And one of those losses last week came at the expense of being up dynamically, and they ended up losing so close at the very end. They could have 2-0'd the matchup from last week, and they just fell by the wayside. It was very close. So a lot of potential with the Cape Dogs. They're going to be looking up against the Central Sentinels team that may or may not be beneficiaries of a favorable schedule so far.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's the big part. This is one of those star matchups that I really like wanted to put onto my list. I have a couple of talking points about this one because it's a big matchup because you've got Zenigma Eclipse.
Hmm.
I'm still trying to get things figured out. I'm still trying to see whether or not they are actually playing today or if they have to wait. I know they had some issues with the hurricane down in New Orleans. I mean, best of luck to anyone that's affected by the hurricanes. That's rough.
Yeah.
Definitely don't want anything like that to happen. I mean, a league like this can take, a little bit of time off in that regard, but, the league still has to go on. The show must still go on. And so for both Cape Dogs and Central Sentinels, they're both playing today. And they're both, within a game of Zenigma, who's currently 4-5. Whoever wins this game, between these two teams, between Sentinel or between CST and CDU, can really determine where the playoff cutoff is. I feel like those teams are definitely going to be the ones that are going to be pushing towards maybe trying to be, rank 5, maybe even rank 4, rank 6 at the very least. And whoever wins this one is probably going to be in a good position. If Central Sentinels is able to walk away with a 3-0, puts them 8-4 in the split, that puts them pretty solidly at fourth place. Maybe a tie if Degenerate Ascension is able to go 3-0 against VBU later today. So that's definitely something that can happen. But major implications coming in from all of our matches today, moving into week 4. And Kendo, I mean, we haven't even talked about the matchup that's going on today, Grin Reapers versus Stonk Squad. Any other thoughts about the other matches that we're not seeing today before we move on?
I don't have any further thoughts. I think we've covered the very intriguing ones. I do feel that there is going to be a shift, and it's going to mainly be right at that bubble point, the cutoff for the playoffs. And the one of the most interest to me is, of course, Cape Dogs and Central Sentinels. That will be a very interesting one. Another one that we're going to be given updates on the coffee vine when we hear them, of course. It's gonna be as soon as we possibly can. Grin Reapers versus CB Stonk Squad is another matchup. Okay, understand, Moose. I do love memes, and when you base your team on a meme, you have my heart just right off the bat. So, CB Stonk Squad, I love what you're doing here. I think that this is a team with a lot of potential, but they're going to have to realize their potential in this matchup against a team that has looked really, really good in the Grin Reapers thus far. We saw Grin Reapers last week, and I don't want to call it a stat padding match, but when you look at the top 10 right now in stats, you see a lot of grins.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a big part of it. It's, two members of Grin Reapers right now, the Bully and Travis, are both within the top 10 for the XLNC MVP league positioning right now. All five members of the Grin Reapers are within the top 20 in the power rankings in terms of, their MVP, their XLNC ratings. Really, really strong team. But they had the bye week 2. They've only got 6 games of data to play off of. Regardless of that, the team, what I've decided to nickname Grin at this point in the contest, the saying that really encapsulates, I think, what they are right now, is currently the bridesmaid, but not the bride. They are the second in terms of, what is it? I have a whole bunch of seconds that they're in right now. Second
Yeah.
in least deaths per game, second in assists per game, second in gold per game, and second most towers in the game. Now, in among the top 5 teams, however, they are in a little bit of a weird position. They've got the least heralds, they've got the least baron, the least topside pressure, which really focuses in on how much focus they're putting in on the bot side with Bully and Travis. I mean, obviously, both of them are within the top 10. They're performing really well in the games that we've seen them play. We'll see if they are able to continue to keep it up. But that's something that we got to really look at moving forward for the Reapers is, when do they start to walk down the aisle and actually be the top team in the league, get away from, that second in the chain or the third in the chain and move into that first spot?
And I'm going to answer this by kind of giving a statement. One of my favorite characters in all of sports and or esports was a speed skater by the name of Apollo Anton Ono. And this was a guy who made the Olympics regularly, and the moniker, what he was known for more than anything else was sticking in there in that second spot until the right time to strike on that last 1 or 2 laps to make sure you get around. The fact that they are there, they are the bridesmaid and not the bride, as you have coined them, is really encouraging. That means that they are right there in the running, and if they continue to remain consistent, they win the matches that they are supposed to win, like, say, for instance, the one that we may or may not be going up against this tonight with the CB Stonk squad, then I don't feel like that's a bad thing whatsoever, especially when you think about the communication. And that was reiterated to us during our interview period. This is a team that likes to communicate. Everyone's on the call and they are making decisions as a team. When you have that kind of flexibility, Moose, that is a superb quality to have. And it goes beyond the numbers right into the intangibles.
And that brings up, a really good point. I'm talking about, what I'm seeing in the game. You're talking about the things that are going to be outside of the game.
Yeah.
Those communication parts about it, the draft, all of that fun stuff. All of that is necessary in order for you to continue to keep pushing forward and to have that great positioning moving into the playoffs. Because obviously, I mean, that's where GRIN wants to be. They want to be in the. They're obviously, I think, in a good position to be in the playoffs right
Mhm.
now, unless something catastrophic happens and they lose out in the last 6 weeks. But I think that they look really strong at this point in the split. They've got, a lot of opportunity to be able to maybe go for a first seed, maybe even a second seed. I mean, obviously, they're in the running for that coveted first or second seed to get that first round bye, which is always fun to have. But, talking about CB Stonk Squad, their opponent moving into this one, 2-7. They had an FF last week against DAO, which, they only played 2 games last week. But I mean, they are in a really tough spot if they want to make the playoffs. 2-7 now, and their schedule moving into the second half of the split is so rough.
Yeah, it's going to get worse from here. One thing to note, Waka, the support, the only one above a 35 in those MVP ratings, Moose. And when your support is the one doing the most work, okay, yeah, that's not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. A good
Mhm.
support can change the game, the same as a good jungle can change the game. Really, any lane can find its way into carry your game. So it's wonderful to see what Waka's been able to do thus far, but we kind of go back to the same point I just made. It is a team effort. So everyone is going to have to perform on that level in order to pull off a victory against a very staunch opponent in this Grin Reapers squad that we already know they do communicate very well. They seem to get to those objectives just a little bit before their opponent. That's going to be really the focus here. How well does the CB Stonk squad communicate against what has been a superb Grin Reaper squad?
Yeah, and this is gonna be a big game
Mhm.
for both of these teams. I mean, and again, Grin Reapers, if they can keep the sweep, if they can get a 3-0, that puts them 11-1. That keeps them, I mean, depending on how DAO plays this week, it could put them in a really good position. Still, even in first place or a tie for first place, if DAO does drop their first game of the split. I don't know if that is going to be the case. They might still just go 3-0. I don't know where Zenigma is at right now. But at the end of the day, going to be a really fun week here at Kendo. Super excited to get started. Grin Reapers versus CB Stonk Squad is the show match here today. Please, in Twitch chat, show your support for both these teams. We really do appreciate you guys. And we're going to be back in just a couple of minutes to get the draft started. See you guys in a moment.